back to Prime Wealth. We're so glad to have you here with us today.
Absolutely. It's great to be here. You know, we're at that point in the year where it's a perfect time to take stock of our finances. Kind of like a mid-year money check-in, right?
Exactly. It's so easy to get caught up in day-to-day life and forget to evaluate how our financial goals are shaping up. So today, we'll walk you through some practical steps to help you assess where you stand financially.
We'll cover things like reviewing your budget, checking in on your savings goals, and even looking at your investment performance.
And let's not forget about debt management. It's an important part of the picture, too.
Right. Plus, we'll share some tips on how to adjust your plans moving forward, so you're set up for success as we head into the second half of the year.
It's all about making sure you're on track and feeling confident about your financial future.
Absolutely, and it doesn't have to be stressful. Just a little reflection can go a long way.
So let's dive into our first point, how to effectively review your budget. What should folks be looking for, Alex? So Alex, why is doing a mid-year money check-in so crucial for folks over 40 right now?
Well, you know, Jordan, as we get older, our financial situations can shift pretty dramatically. Many people in their 40s and 50s are in that sweet spot where they're starting to think seriously about retirement, but they're also often managing a lot of other financial responsibilities, like college tuition for kids or caring for aging parents.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's like a balancing act, right? The clock is ticking on retirement, but there are so many other financial priorities competing for attention.
Exactly, and with the ongoing economic shifts like inflation and interest rates fluctuating, it can feel overwhelming. For instance, inflation has been a hot topic lately, and it affects everything from grocery bills to healthcare costs. If our expenses are rising faster than our income or savings can keep up, that can really impact our long-term financial plans.
Right. I've heard statistics that say many people over 40 are feeling the pinch more than ever. It's not just about having enough for retirement. It's about feeling secure right now.
Absolutely. A lot of people in this age group are also facing what I call the sandwich generation dilemma, juggling their own financial needs while supporting their kids and possibly their parents. This can create a lot of financial pressure, and if they're not proactive about their finances, it can lead to stress and anxiety.
That emotional side of money is so important. It's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about peace of mind and feeling secure in your choices.
That's spot on. I had a client recently who came to me feeling really anxious about retirement. They were in their early 50s and had been so focused on their kids' education that they hadn't really looked at their own retirement savings. After a thorough check-in, we found they were behind on their retirement goals, which was understandably stressful for them.
Wow, that must have been a wake-up call. What did you suggest?
Well, we worked together to create a clearer picture of their financial landscape. We adjusted their budget, set some realistic savings goals, and looked into ways they could boost their retirement contributions. It was a lot about getting them back on track and easing that anxiety.
That's such a great example. So if someone is listening and feeling that same anxiety, what should they be focusing on during their mid-year check-in?
First, it's about taking inventory of where you stand financially. Look at your income, expenses, and savings. Are you on track with your retirement savings? Are there any unexpected expenses that have cropped up?
And I imagine it's not just about the numbers, right? It's also about assessing how you feel about your financial situation.
Exactly. Take a moment to reflect on your emotional relationship with money. Are you feeling secure, or is there a lot of stress? It can be helpful to write down your feelings, as it can clarify what's most important to you.
That makes so much sense. If someone feels overwhelmed, is it helpful to break things down into smaller, manageable pieces?
Definitely. A mid-year check-in doesn't have to be an exhaustive process. Start small. Maybe focus on one area of your finances, like reviewing your retirement accounts or adjusting your budget to account for rising costs.
And I think it's important to remember that it's okay to ask for help. Whether it's talking to a financial advisor or even just friends and family, sharing your concerns can lighten the load.
Yes, community plays a huge role in financial well-being. Sometimes just talking it out can provide new perspectives and solutions that you hadn't considered before.
And what about those who might feel they've missed the boat on retirement savings?
Oh, it's never too late to start. I've worked with many clients in their 50s who thought they were too far behind. The key is to take action now, even if it's a small step. You'd be surprised how time, compounded interest, and consistent contributions can work in your favor.
Speaking of contributions, with the recent changes in tax laws and retirement account limits, it's crucial to stay informed, right?
Absolutely. Keeping abreast of these changes can provide opportunities for maximizing your savings. For example, if you're eligible for catch-up contributions, it's worth considering. That can really make a difference in your retirement savings.
So it sounds like the mid-year check-in is about more than just numbers. It's a holistic approach to your financial health.
Exactly. It's about aligning your financial goals with your life goals. The more you understand your current financial situation, the better prepared you'll be for the future.
And as we think about strategies, what would be some immediate steps people can take to kickstart their mid-year check-in?
Well, let's dive into that.
So Alex, let's dive into some core strategies for this mid-year money check-in. What's a good first step for folks to take?
Well, I think the first thing is to assess your budget. Take a good, hard look at where your money's going. Have you been sticking to it?
Right. Sometimes we set a budget and then life happens, right? It can be really easy to overspend in certain areas.
Exactly. I recommend pulling up your budget from the beginning of the year and comparing it to your actual spending. Look for any categories where you're consistently over or under.
That makes sense. And if someone notices they're overspending, what should they do?
A good approach is to pinpoint those areas and ask yourself, is this a need or a want? You can also set a cap on those categories where you're overspending. For example, if you're spending too much on dining out, maybe set a monthly limit.
Yeah, that's a practical way to rein it in. It's all about being intentional with your spending, right?
Absolutely. And once you've had that reality check, consider adjusting your budget for the second half of the year. If you find that, say, your grocery costs are higher due to inflation, maybe you need to allocate more funds there and cut back elsewhere.
So, it's about being flexible too. What about savings? Should folks be reviewing their savings goals at this point?
Definitely. You should be evaluating your savings goals. Are you on track to meet your targets? If you aim to save a certain percentage of your income, check if you're hitting that mark.
Right. And if someone finds they're falling short, what's a good way to catch up?
A simple rule of thumb is the 50/30/20th rule. 50% of your income goes to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and debt repayment. If you're not saving enough, you might need to adjust that 30% to allocate more towards savings.
That's a great framework. So if someone's spending too much on wants, they can shift that to savings without completely sacrificing their lifestyle.
Exactly. And another tip is to automate your savings. Set up automatic transfers to your savings account right after you get paid.
Oh, I love that. It makes it so much easier because you're not tempted to spend that money.
Right? And you can even set up different savings accounts for different goals. Maybe one for vacation, another for an emergency fund, and another for retirement.
That way, you're visualizing your goals better too. What about debt? Should people look at that during their check-in?
Absolutely. Evaluating your debt is crucial. Look at what debts you have, the interest rates, and your repayment plans. If you have high-interest debt, like credit cards, consider prioritizing those payments.
Makes sense. And for someone who might have multiple debts, how should they tackle it?
A popular strategy is the debt snowball method. You focus on paying off the smallest debt first while making minimum payments on the others. It gives you small wins, which can be motivating.
And the avalanche method is another option, right? That focuses on paying off the highest interest debt first?
Yes, exactly. It depends on what motivates you more. Some people like the quick wins of the snowball method, while others prefer the long-term savings from the avalanche method.
Got it. So whether you go with the snowball or the avalanche, the key is to have a plan and stick to it. What about investments? Should people be reviewing those too?
Yes, definitely. It's a good time to review your investment portfolio. Check if your asset allocation is still aligned with your risk tolerance and goals.
Right. Sometimes life changes can affect how much risk you want to take on.
Exactly. For example, if you're approaching retirement, you might want to shift towards more conservative investments. On the flip side, if you're still a good ways from retirement, you might consider being more aggressive.
And tools like robo-advisors can help with that, right?
Yes. They can help rebalance your portfolio and keep your investments aligned with your goals. Plus, many provide insights that can be very useful for assessing your overall strategy.
What about tax considerations? Should people look at their taxes mid-year?
Great point. Mid-year is a good time to review your tax situation. Look at your withholding. You don't want to be hit with a big tax bill come April.
So if someone finds they're under withholding, they could adjust that now to avoid a surprise later?
Exactly. And if you think you might owe more taxes, it's a good idea to set aside some funds to cover that.
It feels like there's a lot to keep track of during this check-in.
It can feel overwhelming, but breaking it down into manageable steps makes it easier. Just tackle one area at a time.
That's a good approach. Focus on what you can control and take it step by step.
And remember to celebrate your progress, even if it feels small. It's all about building those habits over time.
So, with all this in mind, what are some common pitfalls people should watch out for as they do their mid-year check-in? So, Alex, as we dive deeper into this mid-year money check-in, I think it's important to talk about some common pitfalls people face. You know, those mistakes that can really derail financial plans.
Absolutely, Jordan. It's so easy to fall into these traps, especially when life gets busy or when we're feeling overwhelmed. One of the biggest mistakes I see is not sticking to a budget.
Right. I mean, it's so easy to overlook those little expenses that add up. You know, like that daily coffee run or impulse buys when you're out shopping.
Exactly. Those small purchases can really chip away at your budget without you even realizing it. I had a client once who thought they were doing fine financially until we dug into their spending habits.
What happened?
Well, they were spending nearly $200 a month just on takeout and coffee. When we tracked it, they were shocked. They thought they were just treating themselves, but it was really impacting their savings goals.
Wow, that's a significant amount. It must have been an eye-opener for them.
It really was, and that's when we started emphasizing the importance of tracking expenses. You know, using apps or even just a simple spreadsheet can make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's all about awareness, isn't it? Once you see where your money is going, it's easier to make adjustments.
Exactly. Another common pitfall is ignoring debt. Many people think, oh, I'll just pay the minimum, but that can lead to a lot of trouble down the line.
Right, and those interest rates can really stack up.
They do. I had another client who had a few credit cards with high balances. They were only paying the minimum, thinking it was manageable. But over time, the interest was accumulating faster than they could pay it off.
That sounds frustrating.
It was. We had to come up with a plan to tackle that debt aggressively. It's important to recognize those danger signs early. If you're only making minimum payments, or if your balances are increasing, that's a red flag.
So what would you recommend for someone in that situation?
First, take a hard look at your debts and identify which ones have the highest interest rates. Then, prioritize paying those off first. You could also consider consolidating loans or negotiating lower rates with creditors.
That's really practical advice. What about folks who might be tempted to dip into their savings when they're feeling financially strapped?
That's another big mistake. It can feel like an easy fix in the moment, but depleting savings can hurt you in the long run. I had a client who lost their job and immediately drained their emergency fund.
Oh no.
Yeah, and while it provided short-term relief, they ended up struggling to cover unexpected expenses later on. It's crucial to have that buffer for emergencies so you don't find yourself in a tight spot.
That makes so much sense. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, right?
Exactly. And it's a slippery slope. If you find yourself constantly dipping into savings, it's time to reevaluate your spending and income sources.
Speaking of reevaluating, what about people who set financial goals but then don't check in on them?
Oh, that's a common issue. Setting goals is great, but if you're not reviewing them regularly, you can easily drift off course. I've seen clients set ambitious goals at the start of the year, and then by mid-year, they haven't looked at them at all.
That's so easy to do. Life gets busy, and before you know it, you're far from where you wanted to be.
Right. It's important to have those mid-year check-ins to assess your progress. Are you on track? Do your goals still align with your values and priorities?
So it's not just about the numbers, but also about understanding what matters to you personally.
Exactly. And if you find that your goals have changed, it's okay to adjust them. Flexibility is key.
What about the emotional side of financial planning? Do you think that plays a role in these pitfalls?
Definitely. Many people feel shame or anxiety around money, which can lead to avoidance. I've had clients who were embarrassed to share their financial situation, thinking it was too messy to fix.
That's so relatable. Sometimes it feels easier to ignore it rather than face it head on.
Yes, but that avoidance can lead to even bigger problems down the line. It's important to cultivate a mindset of openness and honesty with yourself about your finances.
So if someone finds themselves feeling overwhelmed or embarrassed about their financial situation, what should they do?
I recommend taking a small step like just tracking your expenses for a week. It can help you get a clearer picture without feeling too overwhelmed.
That's a manageable first step.
Exactly. And from there, you can build on that understanding. It's all about progress, not perfection.
I love that perspective. It's so encouraging. What other signs should listeners look out for that might indicate they're heading into a financial pitfall?
Well, if you're constantly feeling stressed about money, or if you're avoiding checking your bank account, those are definitely danger signs. Also, if you find yourself relying on credit cards more often for everyday expenses, that's concerning.
It is. Those can be indicators that it's time to reassess your financial health.
Absolutely. So for anyone out there who recognizes these signs, it's vital to take action before things spiral.
So, what are some immediate steps they can take to get back on track?
Well, first, create a simple budget if you don't have one already. Then, start tracking your spending and identify areas where you can cut back.
That sounds doable.
It really is. And reach out for help if you need it, whether it's a financial advisor or support groups. You don't have to navigate this alone.
That's such an important reminder. It's all about community and support.
So those are some immediate steps you can take. Now let's bring everything together.
Okay, so now that we've talked about why a mid-year money check-in is so important, let's dive into some immediate actions that listeners can take.
Absolutely, Jordan. The first step is really to sit down and review your budget. Have you been keeping track of your expenses?
Right. And if you haven't been, it's not too late to start. You can use apps like Mint or YNAB. You Need a Budget. They're really user-friendly and can help you visualize your spending habits.
Exactly. And even if you just start by tracking your expenses for a week or two, it can give you a clearer picture of where your money is going.
Yeah, and that awareness is so powerful. Once you have that information, you can adjust your budget if needed. Maybe you're spending more on dining out than you realized.
Or perhaps your utility bills have crept up. You can make small changes, like cooking more at home or being more energy efficient.
Another action step is to review your financial goals. Have they changed since the beginning of the year?
Right? Life happens. Maybe you've had a new job, or you're thinking about retiring earlier than planned.
Or even thinking about taking a big trip. It's important to adjust your goals to reflect your current situation.
And don't forget to check your savings. If you're not hitting your savings goals, maybe it's time to automate that process. Set up a direct deposit into your savings account right when you receive your paycheck.
That's a great point. Automating savings can really help you build that financial cushion without having to think about it.
Another thing to consider is your debt. If you have any outstanding balances, take a look at your interest rates.
Right, if you have high interest debt, it might be worth prioritizing payments on those balances.
And there are tools like Credit Karma that can help you keep an eye on your credit score and assess your debt.
Absolutely. And if you feel overwhelmed, maybe just focus on one debt at a time. The snowball method can be really effective. Paying off the smallest debt first gives you that quick win.
That's a great strategy. And for those who are more visual learners, maybe create a debt payoff chart.
Yes! Visualizations can really motivate you to stay on track.
Now let's talk about investments. Have you reviewed your portfolio recently?
Not really. But I guess it's a good time to check in on how your investments are performing, right?
Exactly. Check if your asset allocation still reflects your risk tolerance and investment goals.
And if you're not sure where to start, maybe consider using robo-advisors like Betterment or Wealthfront. They can help manage your investments based on your preferences.
That's a smart move, especially for someone who might not have the time to manage their portfolio actively.
And don't forget to check your retirement accounts too. Increasing your contributions, even by a small amount, can add up significantly over time.
Definitely. And if your employer offers a match, make sure you're contributing enough to take full advantage of it. That's free money.
Speaking of money, let's talk about emergency funds. Have you reviewed how much you have saved?
It's a good idea to have at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved up.
If you're not there yet, think about setting a specific savings goal for your emergency fund.
And use high-yield savings accounts to make your money work a little harder for you while it's sitting there.
Right, and it can feel daunting, but you can start small. Maybe set aside just $20 a week.
Exactly. Small, consistent actions lead to significant results over time.
And for those who might be interested in learning more, there are some fantastic personal finance books out there.
Yes. The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey is a classic for getting started on financial health.
And Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin is great for changing your mindset around money.
Both are excellent choices. They can inspire you to take action and reshape your financial habits.
And speaking of habits, let's talk about building them.
Right. One simple habit to start is to review your finances weekly or monthly. Just set aside a little time to go over your budget, savings, and expenses.
That's so important. Making it a routine can really help you stay on top of things.
And try to celebrate your wins, no matter how small. If you save a little extra this month, treat yourself, within reason, of course.
Definitely. It's all about finding that balance.
And if you're feeling overwhelmed, remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Just take one step at a time.
So whether it's tracking your expenses, reviewing your budget, or automating savings, just focus on what feels manageable for you right now.
And as you take those steps, you'll start to build confidence in your financial journey.
There's always room for growth and improvement, no matter where you are in your financial life.
So those are some immediate steps you can take. Now let's bring everything together.
Wow. What a journey through the mid-year money check-in guide.
Absolutely, Jordan. One of the key takeaways has to be the importance of reassessing your financial goals. Making sure they still align with what you truly want.
Right. And then there's the necessity of reviewing your budget regularly. Things can change quickly, and staying on top of those changes helps you adapt.
Yes, and let's not forget about the power of emergency funds. Having that cushion can really bring peace of mind during unexpected situations.
So true, Alex. And building on that, tracking your investments and understanding how they fit into your overall plan is crucial.
Definitely. And finally, remember that it's never too late to seek help, whether that's from a financial advisor or trusted resources.
Exactly. It's all about taking those steps to build long-term financial security. You've got the tools, and it's about using them effectively.
A little progress goes a long way. Just remember, it's not about perfection, but consistent improvement over time.
Well said. And if you found today's episode helpful, we'd love for you to like and subscribe. Your feedback means a lot to us. And if you have thoughts, share them in the comments.
And if you know someone over 40 who might benefit from this episode, please share it with them. We're all in this together.
Yes, and speaking of being in this together, next time we'll dive into how to enjoy the holidays without falling into debt. It's a tricky balance, but we've got some great strategies lined up.
Looking forward to that conversation.
Me too. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Until next time.